Welcome to the Mile High Hoops podcast, and it's January 16th. Tomorrow's January 17th. The Nuggets play their 41st basketball game of the season tomorrow, which means we are at the midway point of the year. There's 82 games in the NBA season. We are going to grade the Nuggets, some mid-season grades, including that of Jamal Murray, for those that got caught by the title. But first, I just did want to quickly mention that Nikola Jokic, who was out last night and wore a shooting sleeve before the game and warmups, which suggests maybe something was bothering him before. I talked to Michael Malone after the game and reported about this on denversports.com, but it was something that popped up in pregame warmups. We do not know the status of his elbow or the seriousness of that injury. We are going to find out about that a little bit more later today, where the injury report should come out before that game in Miami. So I do not know anything as this records right now. You might know more when you see this, so just know I'm out of the loop, and I'm not really going to be talking about the Jokic injury because I don't know what the current status is. But before we judge and grade Jamal Murray, I think it's important that we grade everyone by the minutes played this season. I think that's the simplest way to do that. And Jamal Murray's only played the fourth most minutes on the Nuggets. So let's start from the most minutes played all the way down to the bottom. There's 17 guys who have played for the Denver Nuggets this season. I'm going to assign them a letter grade. And guess what? I'm a professor at the University of Colorado Boulder, so I do a lot of grading. I just did a lot of grading because the semester ended a couple of weeks ago. So I'm accustomed to it, though my students would tell you, and if my students are in the comment section, that I'm a very easy grader when it comes to class because I am nice to the kids. I'm not going to be as easy of a grader when it comes to the Denver Nuggets because they are professionals. All right, so this might shock you. Do you know who's played the most minutes for the Denver Nuggets this season? Played all 40 games so far. A couple guys have played all 40 games, but this guy has started all 40 games. Well, you're thinking to yourself, Jokic has been out, missed a couple games. Jamal's been out, missed a couple games. Christian Brown, maybe, right? Aaron Gordon missed a couple games, so it's got to be either Christian Brown or Michael Porter Jr. Well, Christian Brown missed one game with a back injury. So it's Michael Porter Jr. who has played in every single game for the Nuggets and started every single game. And again, remarkable. Last year he played in 81 games, only missed one because he forgot his shoes. That's a crazy real thing that happened. This year, it looks like he's tracking to play every single game of the season, which is just incredible considering the injury history and recovery of Michael Porter Jr. So just shout out on that. And that factors into the grade here where MPJ has played the most minutes for the Nuggets this season at 1351. And MPJ right now averaging 18.4, just got passed by Jamal Murray in most points, or second most points per game. He's bumped up his assist numbers. I thought MPJ's become a better passer. He's rebounding at 6.5 a game, shooting the ball decently well, 40%. I think he's struggled at times because he's their main shooter. But ultimately, I think I'd give Michael Porter Jr. a B+. I think he's been really solid this season. Couldn't ask for much more out of him. He's met expectations and been above them, certainly. The only thing that you would maybe hope that would raise him to that A tier is if he made that jump to being an all-star. But I think Michael Porter Jr. has been really, really good, and I'd give him a B+ on the season. So that's where we start. Let's go down to the guy who's played in almost every other game for the Nuggets and has started 39 of them, and that's Christian Brown, who has been, I think, really solid in integrating himself into the starting lineup for the first time in his NBA career. Had a little bit of a rough patch and, has struggled to shoot the ball at times and has struggled with confidence. And this is coming off a game against the Houston Rockets where he played really well. And we've had a couple of these nights struggled defensively at times, especially at the point of attack and navigating screens. But ultimately, Christian Brown is averaging 14 points per game this year, 5 rebounds and 2 assists. And to me, I'd give Christian probably a B on the season. I think Christian's done a really good job. He's met expectations, been above it at times. He's had a couple games where he's been below it, but I think Christian Brown, the B stands for Brown, right? I'm really satisfied with Christian Brown's play thus far this season, and I think he's done everything he's been asked to do and has continued to bring that aggression on most nights, which is what his prime skill is in the NBA. It's aggression and athleticism, and the 23-year-old's done a really good job of finding a way into the starting lineup and continuing to perform well. Guy who's played the third most minutes for these Denver Nuggets. It's Nikola Jokic. And what grade are you going to give Nikola Jokic other than an A? That's as high as the grading goes at the University of Colorado Boulder. I'd give him an A+, but there are no A+ at most universities, at least as so far as I know. Jokic is chasing probably a fourth MVP. He's played in 34 games of the Nuggets, 40 so far this season. He's got just unbelievable marks. Of course, leads the NBA in three-point shooting percentage right now at 47%. He's scoring 31 points per game, which is easily a career high. He's getting 13.2 rebounds a game, which is just below his career high, 9.9 assists a game, which is a career high, and somehow the 29-year-old has gotten even better this season. There's not much other than an A that you could give Nikola Jokic. If you were giving him anything other than an A, I'd want to talk to you. And, you know, some people have commented on his defense. I think ultimately the Nuggets' defensive struggles and Jokic's defensive struggles come back down to roster construction, and ultimately I think it's hard to blame Jokic himself for a lot of the defensive issues of the Nuggets and maybe himself at times. Guys played the fourth most minutes on the Nuggets, Jamal Murray. And that's the question. A lot of people want to know, Jake, what grade do you give Jamal Murray? He's scoring 20 points a game now on the season, nearing his, career averages. 6 assists a game, which I think is phenomenal, particularly because Russell Westbrook is getting so many assists and Jokic has upped his career marks. The shooting percentages are rough. The turnover numbers are a little bit rough. He's integrating with a new starting lineup, integrating with some different pieces off the bench that the Nuggets haven't had, like Russell Westbrook, and different styles. This is going to be controversial, but I'm actually going to give Jamal Murray a positive grade. I'm going to give him a C+. I think ultimately Jamal's contributions have been more positive than negative. Maybe this is skewed by the fact that Tuesday night he was freaking phenomenal, right? He was just about as good as you could possibly be. 45 points in a ball game. Most points he's had in a game since his ACL surgery. Was amazing that first half, and they blew out a really good Dallas Mavericks team, and I know they were without Lively for most of that game, and they were without Luka Doncic. But it was an important win nonetheless for the Nuggets. I think Jamal Murray, especially in the last 15 games, has been a real positive for the Nuggets. He's had a couple bad games in there, a couple stinkers, but most of the time has been a real positive. He's dealt with a couple injury issues, but he's already at 34 games, which is the same number that Nikola Jokic has played, so hard to criticize how many games he's played or missed or, had to take off, especially with the knee issues. His defense is left to be desired at some times, but again, I think that comes back down to construction where he's not always the worst defender on the court. When the Nuggets were at their best in their championship season, Jamal Murray was a lot of times the worst defender on the court, and that's a great spot to be in because Jamal Murray is not that bad of a defender. On most nights, he's average, in my mind at least, and he's pretty good at off-ball defending. He provides some strength and stoutness from the guard spot. He's a strong guy. He gets into passing lanes. He does positive things on the defensive side of the ball. He's just not great one-on-one on the ball, especially since the knee surgery. I think Jamal gets a lot of criticism because of the contract. I don't look at it like that personally. I look at it more as my personal expectations, and that's a hard part of this grade. Do you grade against, the contract? Do you grade against your expectations, the general expectations? Do you grade against, just performance and their contributions to the team? Because if so, obviously Jamal Murray should get a higher grade than Christian Braun. Jamal's doing more than Christian Braun, but I think we're all grading against the expectation, right? Each guy has their own expectation. And to me, I think Jamal Murray has not been above expectation. He's been below it mostly, but I think he still has been a positive and has found ways to contribute. And he himself has said he sucked most of the year, and he's not lived up to his performances. I think the attitude and the way he carries himself in press conferences can really bother people. But ultimately, I think Jamal Murray has been a positive for the Nuggets. So I give him a C+. And some people are going to be upset about that. But I think it could have gone a lot worse than what it's gone, and he's historically a slow starter. He started slow, and he's been a lot better since. And I think he's really turned the corner here recently. So maybe some benefit of the doubt. Sure. He needs to play better. I agree. He needs to be at a B plus, A minus level for the Nuggets to be a championship contender. But in terms against Jamal and what you expect from Jamal, C plus. All right, Russell Westbrook. He's played the 5th most minutes for the Nuggets. He's been phenomenal. 3 triple-doubles for the Nuggets. 13.2 points a game for the Nuggets. Most of his games coming off the bench. 21 of the 40 he's played have come off the bench. Getting in the lane, stealing the ball a little bit, averaging 5 rebounds a night. He's averaging 7 assists off the bench mostly. The Nuggets have found ways to utilize him in ways they haven't been able to utilize backup point guards in the past. For a guy on a minimum contract that's come in here who I was highly critical of, and I still don't really know how it's going to work in the postseason, particularly in crunch time situations. There's no other grade you could give Russell Westbrook other than an A. He's been the best minimum contract signing the Nuggets have made in the Nikola Jokic era. Bruce Brown wasn't a minimum contract player. DJ, minimum contract player, but Russell Westbrook has been fantastic and been way above what anyone expected him to be, considering his last 2 spots have gone a little haywire as well. Russell Westbrook, A grade, has been awesome for the Denver Nuggets. And, it's hard to knock on the door of the starting lineup when you're a 36-year-old on a minimum contract, but he's done just about everything to play his way onto the court most nights, and it's hard to not play him if you're Michael Malone. Peyton Watson, just under 1,000 minutes right now at the midway point of the season. I think Peyton's gotten a lot better here recently. He's up to 9 points a game on the season. I look at the block numbers and steal numbers. He's a block a game, a steal a game. Not your best rebounder, but he does provide some size and some help on the rebounding end. His three-point shooting percentage leaves a lot to be desired at 34%, but he's not afraid to take them on most nights. And his athleticism is just fantastic. And I think Peyton continues to grow. I haven't been particularly impressed with most of Peyton's first half of the season, especially the first half of the first half where he looked a little ugly. But ultimately, I think you give Peyton Watson a C, kind of in that same Jamal Murray range where it's like, he's done a lot of positive things, but did he really meet expectations? You have hope for the second half of the season. I think Peyton Watson can salvage this and really end up, somewhere with, by the end of season grade, somewhere with, a B plus, especially with how he's played lately. But right now, I would say Peyton's been up and down mostly, and I would give him a passing grade, no doubt, but not a high grade thus far. And I'm really excited about Peyton's future. Again, a lot of that based off the last 20 games. He does some special things every single time he's on the floor. I've called for him at times to be in the starting lineup, but I'm really interested to see how Peyton Watson grows as a 22-year-old in the second half of the season, because I think we're going to learn a lot about him as a ball player. We learn a lot about a guy in his second, third season, right? A lot of the times. Well, Peyton Watson didn't really play a lot his rookie year, right? Just got in towards the end of that season. So this is kind of his second and a half NBA season, so to speak. We're in that weird territory. So I think we're going to learn a lot about Peyton Watson and who he is in this half going into the offseason and how he carries himself. Julian Strawther. He is the 7th most minutes for the Nuggets. I think Strawther's done some really nice things off the bench for the Nuggets. His shooting has been a lot better than last year, more of what we saw at Gonzaga than what we saw last year. His assist numbers, not great, especially from a guard and a guy who you hope maybe can be a combo guard. But he's really just asked to be a shooter right now, and he's done that. I would say Peyton Watson has been above expectation. Julian Strawther has been above expectation. I would live somewhere in that B- territory for Strawther. Aaron Gordon has missed most of the season so far with injuries. He's only played 29 of the 40 games, started only 16 of those. I'm giving Aaron Gordon a B-, B, somewhere in there. I think Aaron's been really good every time he's been on the floor. He's had a couple games where it's been rough. You don't know what the injury issues he's been dealing with in those games, but he's been hurt most of the season. So maybe I give him an incomplete, but I lean towards a B because he has played in just under half the games, and he's been a positive contributor almost every single game. He's been Aaron Gordon. This might surprise some people. DeAndre Jordan has played the 9th most minutes for the Nuggets. given the expectation and what you thought of DeAndre Jordan, this has definitely been a B+. He's been fantastic for the Nuggets this year as a minimum contract big. He has been their backup center, somewhat surprisingly. He started 2 games as well, including last night. I think DJ is doing a lot of positive things for the Nuggets, and he's developed some really nice chemistry with Russell Westbrook, who, surprisingly, they have not played together. They've been in a lot of the same places at different times, but they've never played together, at least in the NBA. Hunter Tyson has played the 10th most minutes for the Denver Nuggets this season. Provides a lot of hustle. Can't blame him, but he's probably not an NBA player. I'd say a C- for Hunter Tyson. Tough spot to be in. Dario Saric, the big offseason signing for the Nuggets. That is an F. That has been a disaster. Dario can barely get onto the floor most nights. When he has been on the floor, he has been just brutal for the Denver Nuggets. That is an F. Jalen Pickett recently been a lot better, has provided some sparks for the Nuggets, has provided some positivity. You think he might be able to be on the roster, but still not great use of a roster spot to this point. I would say a C-, a D+ from Jalen Pickett. He's got to find a way into the rotation. He's got to find a way to get more minutes, particularly with how many injuries the Nuggets have had. You would think that he could get on the floor more, but something's preventing that, and whether it's Malone or Jalen Pickett himself, something's preventing it. I think he's been okay when he's gotten opportunities, but he needs to find a way to get more opportunities. Zeke Naji, that is another F. Brutal. And then the rest of the Nuggets roster, Trey Alexander, Vlatko Čančar, PJ Hall, and Spencer Jones, I would just give them incompletes. Two-way guys, and Vlatko gets hurt early. Hard to grade any of those or know what is going on there. But I think that's pretty fair grades. And, none of them should be too surprising. Maybe the Jamal Murray grade's a little surprising, but that's where I'm at the midway point for the Denver Nuggets season. They are hitting Florida. I'm extremely jealous because it's going to be very cold here in Colorado. The Nuggets are going to be in Florida. We're going to find out more about Jokic. Jimmy Butler could be returning against the Nuggets for that Heat game. Could make some dramatic occasions. And then Paolo Banchero should be playing for the Orlando Magic, and that team is very solid, even without Franz Wagner on Sunday. That's what I'll be looking out for this weekend when the Denver Nuggets play. And on Tuesday, we are going to lead up to the showdown of Jokic versus Embiid that never happens here in Denver. I'm Jake Shapiro. Make sure you like and subscribe to everything on Denver Sports YouTube channel. We will talk to you soon, and stay warm this